It'll work, but only if you spend a lot of money. And so I really wanted to get OpenAI's new open models to run using VLLM. And so OpenAI released these new models, a couple new models, GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformer, OSS, open source software. With VLLM, which is large language models, it's a server. This is meant for production workloads, and it is very fast, and it uses flash attention and a whole bunch of other optimizations for fused kernels. It's what you want to use in production, or if you have a massive workload. So the problem is it's very, very expensive, and the deal is it'll only work on NVIDIA H100s, which you can get. You can get the H100s. It's just that they cost a lot of money, and so well, how much do they cost? So let's see here. They cost $55 per hour. You can get on Amazon and EC2 the best. You get $55, but you have to reserve it for 24 hours, right now at least, and that is how much is that? That's over $1,000 just to try it out, and it doesn't make any sense to they're cheaper GPUs. The better approach is, the more economical approach is to use Olama. It says it works on consumer GPUs, but it also works on server GPUs just fine. And so for this video, that's what we'll be going through, is running a production style workload using Olama, and we'll show you how it works and how to use it and how to operate it. Running OpenAI's new open source models on the Amazon web server. This is something that we can do easily with Olama. There are a lot of options available. Olama is actually a pretty good option. I would say this is the easiest available option that does a really good job, and it uses the GPU hardware. So we're very satisfied with the performance. So what you want to do is, of course, you want to download it. We need to install it onto our server. The really easy install command, super simple. But here's the trick: which AMI and what server and what kind do you use in order to get this to work? So in order to get the 20 billion parameter model to run, you need a certain size server, but you also need the right operating system. This is the easy way. So when you are presented which Amazon machine image to choose, type in the search box for the word torch, and it's going to give you two options. So you can select Ubuntu or Amazon Linux. Both will work just fine. Most people select Ubuntu. And what this is it actually comes pre-built with all the drivers that are necessary for the NVIDIA GPUs, which is really helpful because we don't want to have to install or build any of the things ourselves. We just want it to work when we get it up and running. So you have to just search for torch and pick this image. Then you want to pick the right GPU or instance type. So a good option is G5X large, which is I would say a really good cost to performance ratio, and it's going to give you, enough GPU memory to run the 20 billion parameter model. So just search for the G5.X large, and that will be the one that you want to pick for our adventure today. Once you have your Amazon server all ready to go, it's running, it's live, it's active, and you shelled into it via SSH. We want to install Olama, and that will let us run any of the nice large language models that we want to use. They have a really easy install command. You just take this, copy it, and paste it directly into the terminal window, and it will start downloading, and it will install the system. On the side here, we can see that I've got a couple of nice utilities running on the left panel. This panel, the top left corner, is NVTop. That's going to tell you the GPU's stats. It's like how much the GPU is currently being used. And the bottom left is just HTOP, right? So that's going to tell you the other resources on the system. So you just run HTOP to get that. And now you've got a nice set of panels that are ready to go to tell you that your system's working, it's doing what it should do, or it's nothing. So we've got Olama installed, and we want to bring in with it the new OpenAI GPT-OSS model. So you just type Olama pull GPT-OSS : 20 billion and press enter. And I already had it downloaded ahead of time. It's 13 gigabytes, so if you're running on obviously Amazon server, it'll pull in pretty quickly because it's pretty fast networking. And then we want to run it. So we will say Olama run GPT-OSS. Make sure we type it correctly. And : 20 billion. And then there's a thing, Olama will automatically unload the model if it has been running for long, but we want it to run. We want to use this model for a lot, so we don't want it to unload. So what you can do is you can specify keep alive equals -1 minute, which means forever, basically. So run it forever. And then we can say test as the first sort of check. And then I press enter. So what it's going to do here, you'll check this out. On the left panel here, you'll see the GPU memory is increasing, and that's the model loading into memory. And then we'll see a little bit of activity here. It's doing some setup. So it's going to take a little while here. When it's ready, it'll run the test and return me to the terminal prompt. And at that point, that means that you've got a live running GPT-OSS model, the 20 billion parameter, ready to be used, and it'll serve, it's already hosting it on a port, and you'll be able to use it directly using OpenAI's their Python modules, or you can curl to it directly. Okay, here it goes, and you can see it, once it was done loading, it finished my prompt. Now it'll always, now that it's preloaded, I could just rerun the same command, and it'll be instant. And so now it's running and loaded, and now we can use it for our own purposes. We've got our own AI in a box. We can do whatever we want now. This is where it gets interesting, because this is what a human would normally do. Now that we've got our AI model running on our server on Amazon, and it's all loaded in with Olama, you've got a full workforce in a box. And here's the problem. We got to roll back here for a second, because there's a problem with LLMs in general, that they respond to you in non-deterministic, just blobs of text. You can't really do a whole lot with that. That's not parsable in any way, especially if you're going to have it do a lot of work or a lot of labor for you. So you want to sort of force it into a specific format, and the way to do that is with tool calling. And so, for example, here, this is a curl command that will call our model, our GPT-OSS 20 billion parameter model that we have running on our Amazon server, using these tool choices, and the mode is required. So that means that the AI model, whenever you submit a prompt to it with data, say the data is going to be a document, and then you can ask a question from the document, you can force it to always respond with a very specific format. And this is the way to do that. And that's where the OpenAI open source models are so powerful, is because they will follow these instructions really, really well. And it's a required mode. And so, for example, get weather, it wants you to always, it requires the AI model to respond with the city. It needs to respond with the name of the city. So basically, you're asking it to extract information from the user's prompt. So you give it a document, you say, what city is this document coming from? And so now the AI model can read documents for you and fill out forms automatically. And this is really powerful. You can go, for another example, is you can have it read a chat session. And then, is there anything nefarious happening in that chat session? Or is it totally fine? It could be, or it could be nefarious. It's a nefarious session. And so what you can do is, in these properties, you can specify in an enum, and you can say nefarious or fine, and the AI model will make that choice based on the content that has been provided as the input. And so now you have a classification system. Now you can give it 1 billion chat sessions, and it can train information, and it can sort of label and generate labels for that data. So you can then create a whole new model that's really tiny, really fast and efficient, that can operate in real time on CPU hardware. This is where you're taking the big model and having it train a little tiny model. This is that sort of distillation process. And that's the best possible application that I can see to really start creating some more efficiencies around common tasks. And so a human would normally do this, but in this case, now we are having the AI do it, and we've got full control. It'll always respond in the exact format that we want it to respond in, and that's going to be JSON in this case. And you can see that it responded with the city that was, we asked it to extract the city, and it was Seattle. You can also use OpenAI's Python module directly, and it's actually pretty straightforward and simple to do that. They make it even easier, because you could just curl directly to, port 11434 and have it do the same thing. Or you could use OpenAI's Python module, which makes it a little bit simpler. It's a little bit simpler. And so you can create a chat completion to do all your bidding and all your tasks for you automatically using Python, which is a little bit probably the better approach, because you're going to be commanding this AI to do work for you. You want it to perform tasks. And the task that we have here in our example is extract information from this text. Now, a human would normally do this. It would be a human's job. But since we're using tool choice in the required mode, that means that the AI is going to be forced to always extract information, no matter what the data is that we're giving it. So that gives you deterministic output. Typically, with LLMs, you're going to get non-deterministic, just blobs of text, and you won't know how to deal with it, especially if you're in a programmatic environment like Python. And so you want to always have a JSON output format that you can parse and then get exact parameters, like the name of the city. Let's extract the name of the city. We can run that using OpenAI's Python module. So we just type Python, and then we'll say our test. See your test. Is it? I thought it was here. Let's see. It's called p.py. That's fine. Double check here. So in GG, it says p.py. All right, perfect. So we'll do Python 3, and then we'll say p.py, and that will use OpenAI's model. We can see that the GPU, CPU was used here. You can see a little blip there, and then it gave us back a response. And the information that we really like is the arguments. We want the data that it extracted, which is the city. Now we've got full control of the model. We can really do some interesting things. The sky's the limit. We can do whatever we want. It's amazing. I'm gonna figure out something. We'll try out to make something that's actually useful here in a second. No one's really talking about this. What the power that you have with OpenAI's new open source models is amazing. You can have it do work for you. And here's the problem. Most AI models, all of them basically, they give you non-deterministic output, and it's usually a bunch of text, right? You're chatting with the model, it gives you a bunch of text back. However, if you're going to need it to do work for you, like labor, like have it, you give it a task, you want it to respond in a deterministic way. It needs to give you something that you can parse, right? JSON. But then more than that, more than just text, you need to have it give you specific answers to specific questions. If you're analyzing a PDF and it is like a legal document, you have a question of the legal document. You need it to respond like yes or no to a question. Does this legal document include information about how much something costs? It can extract data for you. So say it's like a parking ticket. You can have it answer a question like what kind of moving violation it was. Oh, it was a parking violation. Okay. How much was it? Oh, it was $100. You can build a tool that will extract that information and use your AI model that you have running in your own server to get that data. So it can do work for you essentially. What I have here is an example. You don't even have to write the code yourself. You can add the AI model. I said, hey, use OpenAI's Python module to define a function calling tool to chat moderation. We want to analyze a chat session, and it needs to classify it as suspicious. There's something going on here in this chat session. We need to flag it, or it's totally fine. Now, we can have the model use forced tool calling, so that way it always responds in a deterministic fashion, and it prints the JSON. We also want it to use our base URL, which is our local running model on our machine. So we've got our machine running here, our AWS server. We've got the code here on our server, and the code that it gave us, it's moderate chat, description, analyze provided chat session, use suspicious for possible policy risks, doxing and other credentials, financial scams and things like that. And totally fine otherwise. And there's parameters. So let's check out those parameters real quick. So it's an enum, suspicious or totally fine. So it's our binary classification here. And this is what a human would normally do, but now the AI is doing for us. It also gives us a reason, so sort of a text, so if you need to refer back to why, and what part of the chat, because it's a chat series, usually between two users, which part of the chat is the suspicious part. So we can actually run this here really quick. And we can see, here's the, in the top left corner, we can see the NV top showing the actual GPU being used on the server. And let's take a look here. So let's look at a good example really quick. This is something that's considered totally fine. Hey, how are you today? I'm doing well. How can I help you? Just curious about tomorrow's weather in Paris. Tomorrow's weather looks fine. That seemed like a totally fine conversation. It's totally fine. And the AI model responded with no policy violations detected. This is a totally fine conversation. And it is totally fine. Isn't that neat? And that's just an example. Let's look at one of the suspicious ones here. Let's look at a suspicious case. All right, here we go. User, Hi, I'm from IT. Please send me your password to fix your account. Okay. That seems suspicious to me. What did the AI? So it says user requesting password, which is credential harvesting. That is suspicious. Now, basically, you have the power of the AI in your hand. You can do whatever you want. You can have the AI answer any questions, and it can go through any number of documents, all the documents, PDF files. It can go through chat sessions, documents. It's amazing.